Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today, we're recapping and chatting about Once Upon a Time, episode 412, Darkness on the Edge of Town. This episode aired on March 1st, 2015. It was written by our showrunners, Eddie Kitsis and Adam Horowitz, and was directed by John Amiel. I've learned how to say his name now. So before we get into our recapping and chatting, let's go over a synopsis for Darkness on the Edge of Town. In the Enchanted Forest. With promises of happy endings, Rumpel lures Maleficent, Ursula, and Cruella de Vil together and takes them to Bald Mountain. There, they'll find something that can help them achieve that which they seek behind trials perfectly suited to each of their talents. Once Rumpel is able to obtain the Dark Curse, he leaves the other three behind to be defeated by the final trial, the Chernabog, a demon that seeks out the heart of the greatest potential for darkness and devours it. The three women take a play out of the hero's book and work together after they've been abandoned and are able to escape safely. In our world today, after completing a plan that he's been keeping close to his chest, Gold takes Ursula to collect Cruella, just as her husband is being arrested by the FBI. He continues his promise of happy endings and lures them up to Storybrooke. After he had translated a spell for Belle under the guise of a linguistics professor, Regina is able to release the fairies from the hat, but accidentally releases the Chernabog as well. Ursula calls Regina with the solution to their predicament with one caveat, that she let her and Cruella into Storybrooke. Regina and Emma are able to defeat the beast by sending it over the town line to a land without magic. And despite Snow's concerns about those two, they follow through on their deal with them and let them in. After they've let Gold back into town to continue their plan, Cruella and Ursula meet up with the Charmings, who have a message for them. Keep their shared past a secret, or suffer the consequences.
Which is just...
It's very film noir. It was very cool the way it was staged, mainly because it's one of those cases of, like, it's Vancouver, it's going to rain, but normally, under normal circumstances, you really can't see it and doesn't really get in the way of filming for the most part, but that was one case of it was just raining way too hard. They had to give them umbrellas or they'd never get the shot done, but it also made the whole thing seem a lot cooler, which I really appreciated.
I liked it a lot. I did start off with my notes of it saying, when it said many years ago, I was like, yeah, y'all's timeline is all over the place.
Yeah, this arc is, I have to really work on this one because this one doesn't make any more sense. I want to start us off, though. I'll admit, I wrote down the entirety that is the cold open because I do have it memorized, but this is just, I think I've told you this line before, of the family show writers of, just who the hell might you be? Ursula, you can call me your majesty. I don't bow down to fish. Who are you? I'm the person whose valet you either knocked out, strangled, or tried to impregnate. I don't know what those tentacles are for. Like, really? We're putting a tentacle porn joke in the first 30 seconds of the episode?
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing, but, like, still, it
was amazing.
It's a great way to start the episode. And also, like, this is the first thing people see after 3 months of nothing.
Yeah, and then you have don't worry, they don't eat fish or dragon.
Unless I tell them to.
I love it so much.
I love Cruella. She gets the best lines. That'll continue to be something.
I get really excited for a lot of things, but of course I'm sitting here like, of course it's Rumpel, because it's, always Rumpel, and watching everybody kind of get back into their flow of things. I really loved Regina destroying the painting like you told me she would. Like, I was like, yes, that is actually quite...
It's very satisfying.
It's very, very satisfying. But then I just had the moment of, dude, close the microwave.
Right?
I was like, why the fuck did you leave the microwave open?
No, I had the exact same thing. Like, yes, you claim you know how to use a microwave, and yet you left it open.
Yeah.
He's not a very gracious house guest.
So Feinberg.
Yes, Cruella Feinberg.
Cruella Feinberg.
I mean, that makes perfect sense for Cruella. If she's gonna, and, like, I think the insinuation is, this might be the headcanon I come up with, which is more than likely. We don't exactly know how long, or at least you don't know exactly how long yet, Cruella and Ursula have been in this land without magic, or why they're there without curse personas, which is going to be something that will get teased, and then you'll see it at some point later on in the arc. But it's implied that he's not her first husband, but also it makes sense because she's a woman of certain tastes.
Is she like Black Widowing it or something? Like, what's she doing there? Well, not exactly, because he was just carried off by the FBI.
Yeah, he didn't die. So, but yeah, it's she's a woman of certain tastes. She's got her red sparkly heels, her giant furs, everything like that. The car. She's got her Coupe de Ville,
I got so fucking excited for that. I was like, yes.
Where are you going to go with these paltry material possessions? To get myself some less paltry possessions. Like she's this is what I love about Cruella for the most part, because I say this I think a lot about many of the villains in general, but the ones that I tend to like the most is she's very self-aware.
Oh, yeah.
She's not trying to be a better person. She's very unapologetic of like, I am materialistic, I'm a terrible person, I'm gonna do terrible things. Kind of don't care if you like me or not.
And that's, like, a really good villain, though,
Yeah.
because there's no real, like and that's the thing that I guess I'm getting more about your Cruella hate of the movie,
Mhm.
because I'm just like, what turns a person into that?
Exactly.
It's crazy. Um, Seeing that they gave us a Shrek moment, though, of
Yes.
Cruella de Vil and Ursula ordering fast food. And, like, all I could think about was Shrek.
No, that's good. But so apparently, this is one of my favorite facts about the show. So Mr. Cluck's Chicken Shack, because they're having this really, I think it's a good contrast. They're having this
Mhm.
really deep like conversation about getting their happy endings and how this is all going to go. This very serious conversation. And, like you assume it's in traffic because they're coming off of Long Island. They're going to have traffic. But apparently, Mr. Cluck's Chicken Shack is a franchise from Lost, so they're borrowing that. The voice of the
Mm.
drive-through worker is Daniel Dae Kim.
Really?
Yeah,
What the hell?
he was on Lost.
I don't make me wanna like, I
I'm
hate the more that I watch this, it makes me want to watch Lost, and I'm like, "I don't
Yeah,
need to watch Lost
but yeah,
because like, I think we're gonna start Dexter again soon.
mhm.
I haven't
But
watched it all yet.
him as, like, a one-off voice thing makes me so much happier, though, than The Shadow.
No, no, that makes complete sense. Because then I go like, Chernobog? Well, that one is new. Like, just we went from, the fairies were trapped with a demon.
Yes. Well, it's good classic Disney, 'cause, like, since we
Yeah,
have The Apprentice, it makes sense to bring in more Fantasia stuff.
that's true. It was just so out of like, I didn't expect it,
Well,
but
then
I
you
think
have
it's a good thing.
Snow's line at the end of, "Maybe that thing is a fairy." Like, open your eyes.
I did love Regina's line though, "I'm a queen and a bit more refined," and I'm like, "Yes, Regina,
Do I look like I
love
can pry
her."
them off with my teeth?
Oof. And I Rumple, you are completely untrustworthy.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Like, completely. I was like, "Guys, can y'all just leave him on the outside? Like, just leave him. Don't let him in." But then I'm like,
Mhm.
"No, that's kind of the storyline."
They kinda have to, unfortunately.
The sea bitch.
This sea bitch. This is one of the things of there's clearly a history with Regina and the whole crew, Queens of Darkness, and we know
Mhm.
that Regina has history with Ursula, the actual deity. This Ursula is different.
Yeah, it is.
So she's not the deity. So it's a thing of there's history there, and we never get to see it.
Never?
We never see Regina interact with all of the Queens of Darkness in the Enchanted Forest. We only see her with Maleficent.
The f But then
But the thing is, like, we're gonna see in Storybrooke, there's clearly a history. She clearly knows these women.
then why not give us that backstory?
I think it was a time issue, because from what I've read, Marin Dungy Ursula is the first one that, gets what she wants and her arc kind of resolves. And supposedly from what I've read, she had another role lined up, so they had to cut her arc sooner than they wanted
Mm.
to. So that's my thing of, like, I wanna hope there was a plan to see that because, quite frankly, The Queens of Darkness and Regina as its own spin-off, I've been touting that for years.
Oh, that would be amazing.
You have them, Zelina, to throw Cora in there for some fucking reason, honestly, it would
And,
be
like and
amazing.
that works. Just leave Peter Pan to where in his death, we're fine.
Just the female villains. They deserve their own
Yeah,
spin-off. The Queens of Darkness. Who would watch that? I would.
I would. Is there a dwarf called Evilly?
Mm.
I love it.
She Regina, continues to have some amazing lines is all we can and, like, this thing, like, with so many good one-liners, this is a thing of I probably would have assumed it was Jen Espenson, but it's the mid-season premiere, so it's Eddie and Adam.
Ah, gotcha. See, because then we just pretty much get to the ending of me like, "Alright, fuck Rubble, here we go, yay!
Yeah.
Who doesn't love this?" And but then I really did enjoy that little, like, ending of we're just gonna keep everything to ourselves. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm gonna find out
Yes.
eventually, like, that's the point of them doing that is
Mhm.
to hint at it, and I'm just kinda like, "I'm really excited to see what the fuck you 2 did because
Yeah.
it's making them relevant again.
It is. It's making Snow and Charming relevant again because they haven't really and to be fair, I mean, with the first half, they just had a baby, like, in real life, just had a baby
Yeah.
as well as the characters. So the fact that they kind of gave them a little bit of an easier time in the first half definitely makes a lot of sense. But yeah, it's giving Snow and Charming more to do because I think I've said this before. Their arc is that predominantly of a romance, and their
Yeah.
romances end with a happily ever after generally, which for them happens more or less in season 2 when they're reunited for the very last time, and they really have very few like relationship blockers after that. So you have to really work more to have them be more relevant in the story. And this is something that I'll go over probably when we get to the end of the season, but what happens with them is like basically the way that I've phrased this before, and I'll phrase this without saying too much, is 4A is necessary for their arc to make sense character arc wise in 4B.
Gotcha. Okay.
Certain things have to be set up in 4A for 4B to feel satisfying for them.
That makes sense.
So,
It does. Like, it does make sense. Like, that's how writing works.
yes, exactly. This is exactly how writing works. So, this I stand by season 4 is the best use of the A and B setting, a season setup. Because they have storylines that go throughout the entire thing, not just the author, but unlike that was but the characters themselves take the entire season for their arcs to really come to fruition for our main cast. So with with 3 and with 5, I don't think that happens as often. There's not as much of a through line. You could argue for season 5, but I think it's a wishy-washy argument. So were your notes mostly lines?
Yeah. I mean, with lines like "See, bitch," like, I
Yeah,
mean, what do you
yeah,
expect out of me?
yeah. So for anyone that's been following along with our Ursula counter, so we've seen 3, technically I guess 4 iterations of Ursula technically. You have Regina, so we have the deity specifically. We have the statue that was of the
Mhm.
that was the deity. We have Regina pretending to be the deity, and then we have this Ursula who is named after the deity. We'll find that out in numbers. That's 415.
That's a 3 episodes away.
Yeah, we got time. It's a more unfortunate soul, which would make sense.
I'd assume that.
Yeah,
So wait, what's the next?
the episodes.
See, I'm excited for 14.
I know you are. The titles for this season are so good, but the ones that aren't are just like a little meh. Because we have Darkness on the Edge of Town, for Unforgiven, and then Enter the Dragon, Poor Unfortunate Soul. I can just list off the titles for you.
You can apparently. Oh my
I can.
god.
16 is Best Laid Plans.
She's
Heart,
doing this from memory. She's
I
not
am.
looking at them.
Heart of Gold is 17. Sympathy
Yep.
for the Deville is 18. 19 is Lily. 20 is Mother. And then 21 and 22 are Operation Mongoose Part 1 and 2.
How the hell do you do that?
I forget a lot of other things.
It's like a superpower, man.
It's a really no, but like it's a really semi useless skill. But when we built our when I built our spreadsheets for when I built our spreadsheets for seasons 1 through 6, I didn't need a reference image. Or I didn't need a reference list.
Oh my god.
It's season 7 is the only one that I don't know the titles of.
See, I can't do that with Bob's. Can you imagine?
No, that one I also I copied that off of IMDb and then still typed things wrong. But it's a factor. Like I said, I wrote down the dialogue to the entire cold open because I knew that I would want it, but also I knew I wanted to watch it. So I wrote it down before I even started watching the episode.
Oh my goodness.
I've done bad impression voiceovers for 3 scenes from this episode. The cold open, the root beer scene, and Cruella Feinberg. Those are the 3 that I've done. I haven't like recited something like a full thing from in a long time, mainly because I feel like it turns into like Lauren forgets she has a co-host moment.
Only a little, but it's okay.
Like a tiny bit.
I'm used to it.
We got some fun facts for you, and also we'll do the IMDb's for Victoria Smurfett and Maren Dungy because our lovely, guest stars for this arc are here. So mainly fun fact wise, Bald Mountain and the Chernobog, if we haven't, I think we've said it already, are both references to the vignette from the 1940 Disney movie Fantasia. That was titled Night on Bald Mountain. Bald Mountain is also the name of a real mountain in Idaho. I did not know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Of the international titles, French is the only one that did not reference darkness, and it is simply The Alliance.
They're very literal, the French.
The French and German tend to be. On the bulletin board, when Killian is working with Belle in the library, which I found that adorable, frankly. There over the picture of the apprentice's house, there's a post-it that says, according to COC, the landlord is Yensid, which Yensid is Disney backwards.
What the hell?
There's a lot of references to Disney in this season specifically,
Yeah.
which I find a lot of fun, honestly. The blood scarabs that Cruella uses her magic on to calm in the Bald Mountain is a the Wiki didn't list this, but this has got to be what it is, which is a reference to the flesh-eating scarabs from the 1999 film The Mummy.
It's gotta be.
There's no way they're not.
And even if it's not, like, I'm sorry, they are.
Yeah.
Like, if you weren't trying that, you did it.
Exactly. Given the guys in charge of this, it has to be. And this one, actually, I'm happy that it pointed it out, because when I was watching it, I was like, oh, that is very clearly the same shot. Throughout the episode towards the end, when you've got them at the town line before they let Cruella and Ursula in, they basically, what side of the road they're filming is very inconsistent, which means some of this had to have been on reshoot days, because there'll be times when they'll flip the camera from, focusing on Snow and Regina and the Charmings to focusing on Cruella and Ursula, but it's facing the same stretch of road. So it's not like they're on either side of the camera and like they turn the camera, because the side that's meant to be like outside of the town line, you can kind of see like the edge where like the trees are much closer. And on the other side into town, it's a much longer stretch. And a couple times when they flip, it's very clearly the same stretch of road, which means
I did not pick up on that.
I only picked up on it because the Wiki pointed it out. So then I looked at it. But basically, that has to mean that they had to reshoot the Cruella and Ursula facing things for a different day.
Oh, wow.
That makes the most sense. But I'm like, this is ridiculously small detail, and I like it. But we have our wonderful new guest stars. We've already done Kristen Bowers in the past, so we won't do hers again. But we have Victoria Smurfit, who plays Cruella de Vil, and Marin Dungy, who plays Ursula. Neither of whom have a cursed persona. They're just Cruella and Ursula, which is honestly fine.
Yeah.
As we've said in the past, Victoria, I think it was last time, Victoria originally auditioned for the role of Belle's mother and did not get it. But they brought her back, and I think she had the better deal out of things.
I agree.
She is an Irish actress. She has 42 credits on IMDb in her 30-year career. One of her earliest projects was a miniseries production of Ivanhoe for the BBC, and then she did a bunch of other different series, mostly in the UK. Later on in her career, she starred in the 2013 series Dracula that was on NBC. That's the one with Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and Katie McGrath.
I need to watch that. I like Jonathan Rhys-Meyers a lot.
I bought it on Amazon on Prime, so you can.
I can watch it.
You can watch it.
Yay! This is why you have friends, guys.
Yeah, we share streaming services.
Share streaming services.
The video is gone. It has to be, because I've tried so many times. I found other clips from the same panel, but this one, the video must be gone. At one of the Once conventions, someone had asked Victoria a question that she just started it with, "This one's for the Supergirl fans," and then Victoria just went, "Oh, you're going to ask me about kissing Katie, aren't you?" Because she kisses Katie McGrath in Dracula. So there's that. The fact that I know that is a little sad, but
no, it's not.
I haven't actually finished the series. I just know that.
You take forever to finish things sometimes, so.
I do. So I go on like stints, and then I just like stop for like months on end. But most recently, she starred as Maud O'Hara alongside Aidan Turner from the Hobbit movies. We learned, and David Tennant in Rivals on Hulu.
Yeah, you told me that's why you watched that.
Yeah, which is the adaptation of Dame Jilly Cooper's novel, The Rivals. And I found this out, which I thought was really interesting. Her performance on Once Upon a Time as Cruella got her nominated for an IFTA Award, which is the Irish Film and Television Academy. She was nominated for Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. That's really awesome. So she's only a few of them have actually been nominated for like acting. Like once I looked up to see how many, and it was enough that I didn't feel like listing all of them, but it's still very few actors from Once Upon a Time have been nominated for acting awards for Once Upon a Time.
Huh.
It's mostly like guest star things, or some of the kid actors have been nominated for us from kid star stuff. Like Lana's been nominated as like best TV villain from like the I don't know if it was the Kids' Choice Awards or like the People's or the Teen Choice, one of those awards. Lana and Colin, I think, presented at the Teen Choice Awards once. That sounds familiar. I have to look into that one.
I mean, makes sense.
Yeah. But so very, very few have been nominated for awards, but like this is like a very prestigious acting award. So
I love that for her.
That's Vic. So for Marin is an American actress. She's from Sacramento. She has 75 credits from the last 30
Wow.
years of her career. She does a lot of like an episode here, an episode there of a lot of very like well-known shows. Like that's most of her career is like a couple episodes here and there from a lot of recognizable projects, such as Babylon 5, ER, Murphy Brown, Seinfeld, The West Wing, Friends. I could go on and on and on.
Where was she?
There's no way you haven't seen her in something,
I was about to
basically.
say, I've watched Friends enough alone. I love actors like that though. They get to guest star a lot in bigger shows,
Yeah.
but don't tend to be like a main character. But now she kind of is
Uh-huh.
like a main villain. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
So her role came from when they saw her performance in Alias. That's how she was offered the role. They'd seen that.
Oh,
So she didn't actually audition. They just offered her the role. She was the original Naomi in the backdoor pilot of Private Practice, which she was later recast as Audra McDonald. But she was in the backdoor pilot that also featured two other Once Upon a Time actors, Raphael Sbarge and David Anders.
well then.
Which is just funny that the three of them were there, and then later on they'd all be Once Upon a Time together.
Always David Anders.
David and yeah, like not even really together though, because I don't think you see you may not, I don't think we see Archie, and we definitely don't see Dr. Will. But she was in 40 episodes of King of Queens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was she her friend or something?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh, I grew up on shows like that.
More recently, she's been in Big Little Lies. She was in the most recent season of The Lincoln Lawyer, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and this is my personal favorite of everything she's been in, because I think you'll like it too. From 2021 to 2024, she has appeared as various characters in 7 episodes of Bob's Burgers.
You're kidding me.
Mm-mm.
We found our connection.
There we go.
It took
4 seasons.
a year. Oh, God. It took so long. Oh, my God. Does it say what episode?
It was whichever seasons are between 2021 and 2024.
We're not there yet.
No, we got time.
That's recent for me, though.
Yeah.
Oh, my
And,
God.
like, if she was one character, I would have mentioned it, but she was multiple characters, which is why I didn't write them down.
We found our connection, and it's Ursula.
Yeah. It's Marin Dungy.
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this. Oh, my God.
I know. So we'll I'm
See,
sure
now
I'll
all the
pay
Once
attention.
fans have to go watch Bob's Burgers.
For 7 episodes.
Shush! No, they get to start from the beginning and listen to the Bob side of this this podcast.
There you go. Oh, this was also a fun fact that I didn't mention, because it's not really a fun fact, it's more a thing I have to find from one of the videos that I've been searching through. The very first coat that Cruella is wearing, she probably named her coats because, they're big enough.
That's what Cruella would do.
They might as well have their own personalities. Honestly, the big white one from the Enchanted Forest was named Clarissa.
That is a good name.
Yeah. Most of the things that I pull out are, they're colloquial because it's from my brain, but I've luckily found the videos to back them up. Because in that very first scene in the cold open, when you have Ursula and Mal fighting with the tentacles and the hips and everything and all that, apparently something that was hard for Marin to really get her head around is she wasn't supposed to use her hands. She's like, you're using your tentacles.
Yeah.
So you can see her hands kind of creep up every once in a while. But in the video, the clip that I saw, they explained how that worked. Like Lana started saying, she's like, yeah, you two really sold that. I was watching that. I was like, how are they doing that with the fighting? And it's good. Apparently, after so many takes, they needed to basically just tie rope from Marin's hips to the staff because they just weren't getting the tension right. But eventually they got it. So it's like, this is the stuff that I found, that I've just been watching a lot of videos of these 3 women. But it's for productive reason.
It's because we do this.
Exactly. It's
You're
real
loud.
It's real productive.
You have reasoning.
Exactly. So, but I really was sad when that's the video that I was texting you about earlier, where I was like, I looked at the date it was posted and it's 10 years ago tomorrow.
Don't do that. You never do that.
I don't feel great about it, but to be fair, these women don't age. They all look exactly the same.
That's fair.
So.
It's all the essential oils.
We're not even going to go into that. Not on this podcast.
I just did that for you.
No, I know you did. Man, well, I'm not going to say which one of them, but if people follow them on Instagram, you can probably figure it out. One of the Queens of Darkness did a minor foray into a essential oils MLM for a little while. I'm not going to say which one.
No.
She has since stopped. At least stopped posting it.
We all learned eventually what a pyramid scheme is.
Yeah. And that's one thing I will say. These are 3 very villainous characters. They're 3 very evil characters. And from the videos that I've seen, and I've spoken to 2 of them through, like, the GalaxyCon one-on-one chats, they are genuinely the sweetest people. Which, like, I feel like I mean, that's not more common, but, like, that's something I can say about a lot of the actors that play the villains, is from what you hear from everybody else. Like, they're just the nicest. Like, the 4 of them have nothing but nice things to say about Bobby. Like, they talk about, because 'cause it'll be
Mhm.
the 4 of them, and Rumpelstiltskin is gonna be a big thing for most of the
Of
season,
course.
so there's a lot of stories about that. But, it's the 3 of them getting on the way that they did. Like, they're just, like, the nicest people. This was one of my when I was watching one of the videos again, apparently, so this was right after Kristen had left True Blood. We talked about that. Marin was apparently a really big fan of True Blood. So
Mm.
Kristen kind of got to, like, rehash all the stories because Marin wanted to hear all of, like, the behind the scenes things and all of this other stuff. So it's like so what she said was it was a lot of Pam between cut and action versus a lot of Pam between action and cut, the way she was used to. So she's talking about a lot. So she got to kind of get all those stories out. But the 2 of them knew each other prior. They knew each other from acting school. They'd known each other for years. And Kristen apparently just didn't realize that Mara Nugget was going to be on the show. So she's like, she walks in the makeup trailer, is like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" She's like, she doesn't read the script. She doesn't read, the call sheets. She's like, actually, I learned my lines for that day.
There's a lot of actors that do that. They're like, there's so
Yeah.
many shoots and everything's split up. They just
Yeah.
learn the lines and go with it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I
How?
don't know if I could go into a project without reading the script first. Like, I
No.
want to know what
Well,
happens.
I'm learning what my script prep process is. By the time this comes out, the audiobook will probably be out or be out
Yeah.
soon. But I recently got hired to do an audiobook for somebody else that isn't me. So I'm learning what my process is, which apparently is going through once just to highlight dialogue and then going back through it again and actually reading it. So, because I feel like I need the context before I start actually recording, otherwise things won't
Yeah.
sound correct.
See, that's
But
where I
we're
get confused on people who literally just don't read the script and just learn their lines for the day. And I'm just like, so you don't know what story you're telling?
To be fair, when it comes to Once Upon a Time, they often, even if they read the whole script, they wouldn't know
Well, no, I
because
meant like other projects,
yeah,
like
other
stuff
projects,
like
but
this makes sense.
yeah, but when the context of Once Upon a Time, they usually, for the most part, only know what's in the script unless they happen to run into like one of the writers and they happen to tell them something. Because I could say that there's a lot of foreshadowing of the way certain things are being acted in this episode for like later on in the season, but it's really a case of it was somehow in the writing that the actor picked up on it without actually knowing.
Wow.
Because as far as I know right now, when they filmed this, none of them knew a whole lot of their backstory. Like Victoria knew a little bit about like what Corella's like where she lived, but other than that, she really didn't have much to go off of, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
So most of my notes are also lines. I have other things in here, much like does Snow teach anything but birds? Because that's all we ever see her teaching.
Oh, yeah.
But if we're reduced to those magical boxes, I'd say hope is in short supply. My question though is, how does Belle know how to use the internet?
She's smart.
That's my question. But
I'm sure
also,
there's a manual somewhere that she's
probably,
like figured it out from.
but it's a case of like, look, the gigantic computer she's using, but also, how do you ask a linguistics professor who's not from like who doesn't understand actual magic? Like, how do you explain that when you're trying to translate this spell? That should have been a tip off that it wasn't a real person. Just saying.
Maybe.
You know,
Remember, they've used a lot of Futhark runes.
this is true. You took a good game, Dark One, but can you deliver in a world with no magic where apparently walking is a challenge?
Dude, she went hard on like
Well, because
they went hard on that part. I was like, damn.
you've got that, and what exactly are you offering, short stuff? Only the answer to all your prayers. Not exactly the religious sort. Shocked. She has genuinely some of the best lines, and I think it was a more recent convention actually, where someone asked what like their favorite line. It was her and Kristen, and somebody asked what their favorite lines were, and she came up with a couple right off the bat. And Kristen's just like, they really didn't give Maleficent that many really good lines, and like people are trying to brainstorm things for her. Victoria is googling her quotes for her. And like she's like people are trying to come up with something for her to say, and eventually one of the ones that Victoria googles for and finds for her is from 102, which is about the dark curse. Whoever created that monstrosity makes the two of us look positively moral.
And she
Which
completely forgot she said it?
no, she completely forgot. But to be fair, we're talking. Well, that line
That's
is
a
from even
long
older.
while.
That's from 2012, from the time, 2012, from the time that she filmed for one day on a weekend. But that's also a case of that's some that can play into like a thoughtful thing that I had, uh, because so much of this, the whole point of them going to Bald Mountain is to get the dark curse. So here's where we're getting our origins of the curse, or we're getting close to the origins of the
Mhm.
curse, because from what we've heard so much of from Rumple is that he created the dark curse, and I've always said it's hyperbole because it is, but this and Mal not knowing kind of where Regina gets it from, it does make a little bit of sense because from what Mal knows, she knows that Rumple took it, then Regina had it. She doesn't really know that that's how Regina got it at first point, but then Regina trades it to Mal, and then she steals it back. Like that's the chain of custody with the dark curse. So
Yeah.
her thing of whoever create she knows that Rumple didn't create it. So this is a place where the two episodes connect a little bit, and like there's a little bit of continuity, kind of.
We needed custody of the curse.
You know,
Everybody's fighting for it.
the dark curse. Not even its unholy power can bring your loved one back from the dead. Which again, that was something that they pretty much had just like decided. And they hadn't actually written 118 yet, but it works. It all comes back around at the end of the day.
Somehow.
Yep.
Still think it's a blue fairy.
This is true. It should be the blue fairy.
Every time, like the more and more I watch, every time I'm just like, damn, they missed an opportunity.
They really did, especially with how like skittish Blue is around Regina
Yes.
afterwards. Like she's as polite as she needs to be, but she's
Mhm.
still very. It just feels like there's something under the surface, and there just isn't, and it's annoying. So it's one of those things of I don't mind spoiling it for you in that it's never Blue.
It just
It should be.
it should be.
Yeah. In the one of the lines in the Mr. Cluck's Chicken Shack
Yeah.
line, when Rumple's talking, he says, "Because of their will, not our missteps. I suppose it's better than blaming bad judgment and gin." Which it's a great line, and that's actually that story that I told you about that I had kind of made like a Cruella fan. It started as a Cruella
Mhm.
fanfic idea that I want to go back to at some point. The working title of it was Bad Judgment and Gin.
I like that.
And I also based the house off of what we can see of the outside of that house from Great Neck because like that just made sense. Because there are houses that look like that.
Oh, I don't question it.
Yeah. What other lines do I have? I suppose we should go out and see what's killing property values this time. This was one of my favorites because this is a big moment for Regina, is when they're trying to figure out what to do about the Chernobog, and Killian says maybe the Savior and the Evil Queen can stop this. And she went, "Can we drop the E word already?"
Yes. I
Because like,
didn't write that one down, but I have to agree. I was like, she's really getting tired of being considered that.
yeah. Because it's such a stark contrast to her line from season 2, which is, "I was always the queen. It's you who added evil to my name."
That's true.
Like that was her kind of taking on the evil moniker. She's like, "I was always the queen. You decided this, and that's who I became." But now it's like, I'm done. We're not doing this anymore. And like, to be fair, for the most part, they pretty much do drop the E word, except when she says, "Is there a dwarf named Evilly?" But still, it's such a good moment for Regina's growth. We continue to see more of her growth, which is why I say her arc is the one that's more central to the show because we see it more often.
Yes.
You want darkness? I'll give you darkness is always good. The reason why it picks Mal, I get what they were going for, but timeline wise, it still doesn't make any sense.
How so?
Um, I can't say yet.
God damn it.
But just think
Why
about,
bring it up?
I'm just saying, we're going to bring it up later because it's the point of the reason, the thing that it is the greatest potential for darkness, which is also the reason why it goes after Emma, not Regina.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going off of because who has the greater potential to go dark than someone who's made of pure light magic?
Yep. They're talking to a charmed fan.
Yeah, exactly. So for it to pick Mal out of the three of them, timeline wise, it's not great. I can't say anything, I think, until 416. No. Well, I can say something. I can say something next week. Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. So, yeah, Unforgiven makes more sense. But yeah. So I get what they were going for, but the timeline, I'm like, this is not enough time for things to happen. Just saying. But maybe it could look into the future. You know what? If I say that, maybe the Trunabog could see the future.
What?
I'm making no sense. I'm well aware.
I'm so confused.
I'll make more sense next week.
You never do. There's always another thing. And I'm just like, I guess I'll find out eventually.
You know what? I feel a little bit like the Dark One with my powers of foresight because, you don't always see everything.
Yeah. Look
You
at
know?
you go.
So there you go. I'm the Dark One.
That's it. That's what you're getting for your birthday. A
What,
fake Dark One dagger.
A Dark One dagger? I made one for Comic-Con years ago. I think I finally threw it out because it was so destroyed. I made it out of cardboard.
I wonder what I can find.
You can definitely, the fake Dark One daggers of various types of materials are definitely available on Etsy. Trust me, I found them.
You're totally going to have to get one for your birthday now. Be like, all right, I have done a great service.
I'm the Dark One.
Well, I kind of missed your birthday last year.
It's okay.
There was a hurricane.
You had a good reason.
I did have a good reason, and I still felt terrible.
This should make you feel better is another amazing line. Mostly wondering how a plate of undercooked calamari ended up with the Dark One's cell phone. Which is why it's so depressing that we didn't get to see any kind of backstory with Regina and all the Queens of Darkness.
I would like that. I'm just kind of upset that we're not going to have that. Like, that sounds great.
With that and the way that she responds to Cruella when Cruella says, like, no, thank you, Regina. You won't regret it. I better not. Like, and we'll see even more in the next episode because Regina pulls no punches when it comes to these two.
I mean, she did immediately say sea bitch, so I'm not surprised.
The sea bitch. So it's one of those things. It sadly only exists in fan fiction.
Okay, but that's okay, right?
I'm not complaining.
At least there's some fan fiction.
There is some fan fiction of the 3 of them, the 4 of them, all the fun stuff. But one thing I want to say before my last little thing, I'm timing it. I'm aware we have to do stats. I'm not forgetting again.
Oh, okay.
You
did last time.
No, I know. My last thing before we do stats, and I have one thing to close us out that's funny.
Did you put it in bold to remember?
No, I'm just staring at it right now.
Okay, good.
But specifically with the Snow and Charming and Cruella and all of that, like the scene was beautifully shot the way that it is. But it's just like for like you said before about how much like you really need a reason to bring them back into the story at this point because they're kind of on the backs of the back burner of things. Snow for being Snow does such a terrible job at not seeming suspicious.
Oh, 100%.
Because like it's very film noir. It's very much of if you reveal our secrets, I'll rip your hearts out myself kind of thing. And like it's funny because so much of it, like Snow is always someone that really considers herself a good person and considers herself, she's got such a strong moral compass and she always does what's best for everybody. And to see her like this is a good way to bring her back into the forefront of the story.
Especially since we kind of left off for her specifically on the whole like dark heart thing.
Exactly.
Like that's kind of like when the last time those two were really relevant was that's what we left off on.
Yeah, I would agree. Because they pretty much, for lack of a better term, ignored it.
Yeah, pretty much. They're like, oh, she's pregnant.
Yeah, exactly. So
baby time.
Like they'll bring up Snow remembering that her heart is darkened a little bit when it's convenient. But for the most part, they kind of do just ignore it, which is not great. But they have enough storylines that they kind of have to, remember.
There's a lot to juggle.
There is a lot to juggle. And so there's one more thing I want to say, just because mostly of like the getting the band back together is essentially like the whole through line of this episode. There's no reason Cruella should know that Mal is dead. And that line bothered me. Like, I know that's going to be the point, is going to be resurrecting her in the next episode, but there's no reason Cruella should know that she's dead.
Cruella wasn't the curse and everything.
Cruella wasn't in Storybrooke. So like that, I get that you needed someone to like question Rumpel, because that's been his whole thing of why do you still question me? But I don't know, that line for some reason.
Wasn't the dragon under the library?
Correct. That is Mal.
I'm so confused.
So remember, dragon's under the library. We stab with the sword. Zombie comes up, also dies.
Yes, the zombie. That rings a bell.
Yes. So something that'll get, and this is a very small detail, is the fact of clearly Maleficent's coming back. Otherwise, she wouldn't be in this arc.
Yeah, she has to.
So at this point, the cavern keeps her alive no matter what. However,
Oh.
an offhand comment of Kristen Bauer basically insinuates that regardless of that magic, Maleficent is immortal. Basically, the
Interesting.
insinuation is that dragons basically are, I guess I would say, more impervious than anything else. They're like unkillable versus like immortal, but
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So the cavern keeps her alive in no matter what form. So, but still, Cruella and Ursula haven't been around during the curse. They didn't know what happened to her, and we'll see what happens to them and how they end up in Land Without Magic. So there's no reason she should know. So that line did a little
Okay.
bother me, just like a tiny, tiny bit, but that's like the smallest of details.
See, now I'm wondering where Ursula's tentacles are.
You'll see her get them back.
Okay.
No worries. She's got a lot of stuff she's got to regain. I did like her scaly leather jacket,
Oh,
though.
yeah,
It's
I
a great
loved
costume
that.
choice. But so, Katie, what did you rate Darkness on the Edge of Town?
I gave it a 30.
I assumed as much.
Yeah, could you tell I liked this one?
It's just so much fun. And like,
It really is, and, like, I took so few notes
uh-huh.
because the whole time I'm just sitting here, like, I'm actually so enjoying myself so much that I was like, "Oh, wait, I'm supposed to." It's one of those episodes. I forgot to take notes because I'm
Exactly.
really enjoying it, which is usually how that goes when I'm really
Mm-hmm.
enjoying it. I'm just like, "Fuck, what did I was supposed to write things.
Yeah.
Oops." But yeah, I liked
Yeah.
it.
No, it's such a good episode. It's such a good reintroduction to the show because if you factor in the fact that
Mhm.
we had to wait 3 months to watch it and everything. And I'm gonna have to really, really, really rein in my bias and try and be critical of this arc because I really don't want to, but there's things that I have to be critical of. But this
I don't
also,
have to.
you don't have to. This is also a 30 for me because quite frankly, it's just fun. And like I'm
Mhm.
watching and like
Like, you
again,
can't tell you're in the middle of a season.
no, exactly. Like, because it feels, and this is, like I said, this is the best use case of this A and B season, like, structure. Because it's just, it works so well. Because I think they did a really good job of introducing those characters at the end of the last arc. So it works out really, really well. And it's just, the actors all got on really well together. They clearly had a lot of fun. They're really well done characters. The nuances that they bring to these characters that, lifts them off the page from like what we got from the animated ones is really well, as well as the references, because, we've got Cruella's magic in her bad breath that controls animals. So you have, but that's the reference to the cigarette smoke because they can't. It's Disney. Like I know the original one is Disney, but this is current age Disney, so they're not going to have her with a giant cigarette holder in her hand. So instead, like they have those references, or like she
I
does that
just
in
need her chewing gum, it'd be funny.
basically you have her like kind of like holding that kind of shape that she kind of does that with her hand or whatever, like just kind of uses that a lot to kind of maintain that. You have the car, you just have Ursula in general being Ursula with her tentacles, and the wig is huge, but apparently it wasn't super heavy because it was like mostly like netting to kind of keep
Mhm.
everything up. And Mal and her staff with her little dragon staff, which I have a story about that next week. But like it's just this is an arc that works super super well,
Mhm.
and I just enjoy watching it. But I know that there's things I'm gonna have to be critical of because it's me. So I can't give the whole arc at 30. That wouldn't be fun, and I won't.
No,
But
but I probably will.
my last thing of this, because this is the blooper brain rot again. In the scene when Emma is fighting off the Chernobog again after Regina, poofs herself
Mhm.
to the edge of the town. Um, in the blooper, you can tell that Lana is clearly crouched down in the front of the car seat because the seatbelt is still so far forward.
Oh my goodness.
So you just have Jen on like whatever rig they have driving, fighting off invisible things, and Lana's just crouched down. But in the final take, that they clearly use a take where Lana's not in the car because the seatbelt is back against the chair. Which, like, the things that I pay attention to, because I'm now paying attention to when they have seatbelts. Because supposedly, I have to see if I can find the video where one of them mentioned this. There's going to be a scene of Regina and Mal in Cruella's car that they had to film a couple times because the first time they forgot to have them put on their seatbelts. They went, wait, we gotta do this again. It's Disney. Gotta wear seatbelts. It's like
Yeah, no, you
we're
have to.
villains. Villains wouldn't put on their seatbelts, but it's Disney.
It's Disney. They can't have, any reason for anything to come back on them.
No, exactly. At the end of the day, and like, there's gonna be so much fun stuff with that car,
I love that car. I got so fucking excited. I was like, "Fuck yeah.
and it looks so cool from the.
Yes."
It's like so
Can't
fuzzy
have the
from the
cigarette.
inside.
We can
No,
have the car.
we're gonna have a car. It's so fuzzy on the inside. It's like it's Cruella to a T, and Victoria Smurfit said it best, especially with like this. This says a lot about their dynamic, and she's like, I would gladly have all 4 of us locked in my car at 3 AM all the time.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Mhm. And I have plenty of stories of them inside the car and a video for you to watch. Uh,
Eventually.
in 2 episodes, in 4:14.
Woo! That's better than usual. It's so funny because now I'm sitting here, I'm like, "I'm on season 4, who that Lauren's been talking about for
Well,
a really long time."
it's the fact of, like, now these are stories because you can clearly tell my enjoyment of arcs with how much I remember. Like,
Mhm,
season 3, I had to do a lot more research to find things to talk about versus, like, seasons 1 and 2, I had a lot more ones especially, I had a lot more colloquial stuff. Then season 4, I have a lot more stuff that I just remember, so I can just go back and find these kinds of things. 'Cause I know what I'm looking for, so at least, like, I have a vague idea of where the videos are, and then I use the lovely transcript feature on YouTube to just just, like, search the words.
mhm.
That's how I find the clips I want out of these hour-long panels. So it's, my brain is you can tell my enjoyment of these things based off of that, but I think it's a factor of I've had conversations with Kristen and Victoria, which I think makes this arc a little extra special
Yeah.
because 'cause I've spoken to them, and I've talked about my conversation with Victoria, that 20 minutes of chaos that it is that went in all kinds of directions.
So many directions.
It started off on books and ended on dating apps, and I paid for 2 minutes, and it turned into 20. I bought another autograph, I felt like I had stolen enough money, so I bought an autograph even though I don't normally do that. I
That's fair.
was like, "I feel like I stole a lot of money, we're gonna."
Let's make up for that.
Exactly, at least a little bit. But I'll treasure that video forever because GalaxyCon gives you the videos for free.
Mhm.
So,
I it's a good video.
it's a great video, and it's because it's one of those things and then we'll go because 'cause we've just been rambling at this point, but it's one of those things of, like, I'm eternally grateful that it went the way that it did because she's the one that had to extend it, and it was a case of, toward a certain point, she's just asking me questions and getting to know me, and that's the kind of interaction that the fans want, and, like, I think it was Kristen Bauer that said this, like, that I've internalized it is, like, that gets it. She's like, "What the fans want is that interaction, that moment of acknowledgement. They wanna, they wanna be heard and they wanna be seen by someone that makes them, that they really admire." And that's her, that's what she focuses on. And if they've done that and made sure everyone is comfortable and is able to talk freely and get what they want out of the interaction, then she
Mhm.
feels like she's done a good job.
I like that.
She's a good person. They all are.
Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Bob's Burgers Season 8, Episode 16, Are You There, Bob? It's Me, Birthday, and Episode 17, Boy Watch. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and Blue Sky. If you'd like to join our Patreon, you can find the link for more details in our show notes.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.